Hello, welcome. Let us learn anatomy of middle ear. This is marvelously engineered small air-filled cavity within the bone of skull. Try choosing the correct answer for the following question. Poor management of middle ear infections, that is otitis media, may result in the following complication. It can lead to meningitis, cerebral abscess, facial nerve palsy, loss of balance or vertigo due to inner ear infection, thrombosis of sigmoid dural venous sinus. I will give you a few seconds. Think of the correct answer. If you are thinking one or two among these, you are wrong. All are the possibilities. That is the reason why this space, air-filled cavity, middle ear, is clinically extremely important. These are the learning objectives for present session. Mentioning the location, shape and size of middle ear, naming the communications of middle ear, listing the contents of middle ear, outlining the subdivisions of tympanic cavity, describing the boundaries and relations of tympanic cavity, explaining the ossicles and intratympanic muscles briefly, discussing the mastoid antrum, recalling the neurovasculature of tympanic cavity, and enumerating the clinical aspects related to middle ear. This is superior view of cranial base. We can observe cranial fossa, anterior, middle and cranial fossa. Middle cranial fossa, laterally it is formed by greater wing of the sphenoid here, and this is pitras part of the temporal bone. Let us enlarge this. This is pitras part of the temporal bone. This is internal acoustic meatus, foramen lacerum. So within this part of the bone, that is pitras part of the temporal bone, an air-filled cavity is present, that is middle ear. Let us observe in this picture. Watermarks are shown on the pitras part of the temporal bone. We are observing this light blue colored cavity. This is middle ear cavity. Laterally, it is communicated to external acoustic meatus and tympanic membrane. Medially, it is related to internal ear. It has communication anteriorly to eustachian tube and posteriorly into these all air-filled pockets within the mastoid bone. So, middle ear is located in pitras part of temporal bone. Let us look at middle ear in another section. Let us take coronal section through the tympanic cavity or middle ear cavity and also through the external acoustic meatus. This is the view seen from anterior side. External acoustic meatus, this is tympanic membrane and this is internal ear. So this is the middle ear cavity. It is having ear ossicles. Let us enlarge. You can appreciate here. This is middle ear cavity compressed between tympanic membrane and internal ear, which is bony. Middle ear cavity is slit-like. The shape of this cavity is cube-shaped. It is sandwiched between tympanic membrane and bony internal ear. It is filled with air and lined with mucosa. If I take mold of this middle ear cavity in the same picture and take that mold outside to appreciate the dimensions of middle ear cavity, this it is. This is transversely compressed cube. Its long axis is almost parallel to the long axis of tympanic membrane. Its anteroposterior diameter is approximately 1.5 centimeters. It is not exactly anteroposterior, it is anteromedial and posterolateral. Its vertical diameter is also same. When we see its transverse diameter, In the upper part, it is more, and in the lower part also. In the middle, it is compressed. It's in the shape of dumbbell or red blood cell. Let us look at communications of middle ear in this slide. This is the cavity. Anteriorly and in the lower part, it is communicated to nasopharynx through eustachian tube. Initially, it's a bony canal. Distally, it is cartilaginous. Posteriorly and superiorly, it has one more communication to adytus. Let us look at this picture. This is anterior, this is posterior. This is middle ear cavity. This section has gone through the auditory tube. This is bony part. Anteriorly, the middle ear cavity is communicated to nasopharynx through eustachian tube. Posteriorly, the middle ear cavity is communicating to all these small pockets of air within mastoid bone. They are called mastoid air cells. Before reaching to mastoid air cells, the communication passes through a large cavity here. This is mastoid antrum. This mastoid antrum is connected posteriorly and superiorly to the middle ear cavity from here. There is some clinical aspect related to the communications. From nasopharynx, infections can travel back into middle ear. It can infect the middle ear, otitis media. They can track down to the mastoid antrum, and mastoid air cells can get infected with pus. Of course, there are ear ossicles. This is malleus, this is incus, and here is stapes. We shall look at these ear ossicles in detail little later. Ear ossicles are the contents of middle ear. There are muscles, intratympanic muscles. This is tensor tympani, which pushes the malleus to tense the tympanic membrane. And this small tendon we can appreciate here, this is stapedius, which pulls the stapes when it contracts. There are nerves to mention. This is chorda tympani. This is branch of facial nerve, and this is tympanic plexus, branch from glossopharyngeal nerve. So there is facial nerve here, which is very near to the middle ear, which runs in the canal but not directly inside the middle ear. The facial nerve has its bony impression producing inside the middle ear on the medial and posterior aspect. This is the branch from facial nerve. This is chorda tympani. There are some vessels which are not shown here in middle ear. Actually, the middle ear cavity is completely filled with mucosal folds. It should appear like honeycomb in reality, because all the contents of the middle ear has to get their nourishment through the vessels. If vessels are reaching the contents of the middle ear, mucosa will raise in the form of fold to reach the underlying vessels towards the contents. Like this, middle ear is completely filled with raised mucosal folds in the form of honeycomb in reality. We shall look at the vessels. What are those vessels later? Of course, it is filled with air. It is communicated to nasopharynx and mastoid air cells. This picture shows middle ear cavity. Exactly medial to the tympanic membrane, we can see this orange colored area known as mesotympanum. Above the upper border of tympanic membrane, it is epitympanum. Below the lower border, it is hypotympanum. Like this, we can see the same epitympanum, mesotympanum, and hypotympanum in almost realistic relations. Hypotympanum communicates to eustachian tube. Epitympanum communicates to mastoid antrum and air cells. The large masses of malleus and incus are present in epitympanum. This is how we have outlined or subdivided middle ear. Let me recall the boundaries of middle ear. This is roof of the middle ear. This is anterior wall. This is lateral wall, which is related to tympanic membrane. This is inferior wall. This is medial wall, which is related to bony internal ear, and this is posterior wall. We shall look at all these walls in detail with their relations. This is section of middle ear along its long axis. This is anterior side. This is eustachian communication. This is posterior side. This is adytus and mastoid air cells. This is roof and this is floor. And we can also observe the watermarks of internal ear which are bony here. This is after removal of the mucosa. Let me explain roof in this picture. Roof is formed by tegmen tympani. This is a tegmental wall of a petrous temporal bone. It separates meninges and temporal lobe of cerebral hemisphere. So this is the floor which separates the jugular bulb, which is continuation of sigmoid sinus. We can see the outline here. Jugular bulb is separated from floor by a thin plate of bone. Anterior wall, this is actually open here inferiorly into eustachian tube. Just above eustachian tube, we have one more canal for passage of a muscle, tensor tympani. We can appreciate that muscle passing inside the middle ear cavity in this canal. Eustachian tube and canal for the tensor tympani are separated by a thin plate of bone which projects backside into a process which turns laterally, which appears to be turning from this cochlea. It is known as processus cochleariformis. From this process, the tendon of tensor tympani moves laterally towards the handle of the malleus, which we will see later. In the anterior wall, a thin plate of bone separates the internal carotid artery. To recall the structures in the anterior wall: auditory tube, canal for the tensor tympani, processus cochleariformis which appears to be projecting from medial side to lateral, and thin plate of bone separating internal carotid artery. Posterior wall, in the upper part, it is open to adytus, which gives entry to mastoid antrum and in turn into all the air cells of mastoid. Facial canal, where facial nerve is running through the bone. While running, it makes an elevation of bone which is seen from the middle ear on its medial wall as well as on the posterior wall. On the posterior wall, vertical part of the facial nerve is seen, making a bony elevation. Pyramid is one more conical elevation of bony structure which harbors the muscle stapedius. The tendon of stapedius escapes out of the apex of pyramid. And in the lower part, we can also see branch of facial nerve cauda tympani which is taking entry into the middle ear, that is from posterior wall. This view is from lateral side. Let us look at the same posterior wall from anterior side. This is lateral view and this is anterior view. We can see here lateral wall and medial wall, and we are observing at middle ear cavity from anterior side, and whole of this is posterior wall. In the upper part we can see adytus. Just below that we can see facial nerve making its impression, bony impression, and its branch cauda tympani, which is escaping out into the middle ear, and this is bony conical elevation, that is pyramid, which is sending tendon of stapedius, which is attaching on the bone stapes. We are also observing one more elevation parallel to the facial nerve, which is because of lateral semicircular canal of internal ear. Medial wall is related to bony internal ear. The first round of cochlea makes an impression on the medial wall, that is known as promontory. Facial nerve and lateral semicircular canals, which are seen here, this is facial nerve and this is lateral semicircular canal, which are enclosed within the bone, are making bony bars on the postero-superior aspect of the middle ear cavity. So these bars are almost extending into additus of the middle ear. There is oval window which is closed by foot plate of stapes. This is also known as fenestra vestibuli. There is one more window here. This is round window which is closed by round membrane, which is also known as fenestra cochlea. Tympanic plexus is ramification of glossopharyngeal nerve on the promontory, which comes into middle ear from near the floor. So this is glossopharyngeal nerve taking entry and making plexus of on the promontory. Let us look at medial wall with mucosa covered on it, how it appears. This picture shows when mucosa is removed, and water lines have been placed here in this picture just to give you an idea what are the structures related deep to the mucosa. This is medial wall which is seen from front. This is lateral wall. So this is promontory, and these two bony bars are because of facial nerve in bony canal and lateral semicircular canal within the bone. And this is oval window closed by the foot plate of stapes. Round window is not seen here in this picture. This is exactly behind this promontory, and we can appreciate tympanic plexus here making ramification. This is from glossopharyngeal nerve. Let us weave at this medial wall once again from lateral side. From this side we are observing completely the medial wall here. So this is anterior, this is posterior, and this is completely medial wall seen with all features. This is promontory with tympanic plexus on it. This is facial nerve in canal, and this is lateral semicircular canal in the bone. This is foot plate of stapes closing the oval window. This is round window. So all these are the features of medial wall. Lateral wall seen from front. Laterally, it is closed by tympanic membrane. On the inner surface of the tympanic membrane, handle of the malleus is attached. And on the handle of the malleus, we are finding here attachment of tensor tympani muscle. So when it pulls, in turn it pulls the handle of the malleus medially to make the tympanic membrane tense. Cauda tympani is branch of facial nerve. We can see here it is coming out and it is passing anteriorly between malleus and incus, which is very closely related to lateral wall of middle ear. The lateral wall from medial side. So this is completely lateral wall seen from medial side. This is anterior, this is posterior, this is superior and inferior. We can appreciate here foot plate of stapes coming towards medial side. This is handle of the malleus. This is cauda tympani passing between the handle of the malleus and long process of incus. And this is from anteriorly tensor tympani is coming and inserting on handle of the malleus. So this is processus cochleariformis. This one picture shows relations of all the walls of middle ear. This is also easy to draw diagram. You can see here superior wall is separated from tegment tympani and it is related to meninges and temporal lobe of cerebrum. Inferior wall is separated by thin plate of bone from jugular bulb, and on the medial side of the inferior wall we find glossopharyngeal nerve taking entry. Anterior wall from above below, if we observe, we see a canal for escape of tensor tympani into middle ear, and just below that tubal opening, this is auditory tube opening. Between them a bony projection passes behind, this is called processus cochleariformis. Anterior wall is also separated from internal carotid artery by thin plate of bone. In the posterior wall in the upper part we find adytus, entry into antrum, and posterior wall also shows pyramid, elevation of bony projection in the cone shape to hold the muscle stapedius, and this is vertical part of the canal for facial nerve which makes impression on the posterior wall, and from the posterior wall cauda tympani also comes out. All this is medial wall which shows prominently the promontory, which is first turn of the cochlea, on which we find tympanic plexus. In the upper posterior part we find horizontal part of the facial nerve in the canal and lateral semicircular canal making two parallel bars, oval window closed by the footplate of stapes, and round window. Lateral wall is opened like a box here in this picture, so we can observe tympanic membrane very closely associated to the handle of the malleus, and in between the handle of the malleus and long process of the incus we find cauda tympani nerve which is related to lateral wall. So this one picture shows all the relations of middle ear cavity. Here we are observing ear ossicles, malleus, incus and stapes. These articulate with one another with synovial joints. They conduct the sound impulses from tympanic membrane to oval window. The surface area of tympanic membrane is 17 times larger than the surface area of oval window. In severe excursions of these ear ossicles, due to high sounds, internal ear can be potentially damaged. This is prevented by intratympanic muscles. Intratympanic muscles are tensor tympani and stapedius. This is lateral wall of middle ear seen from medial side. We are observing tensor tympani here, entering the middle ear from anterior side, taking origin from the canal in which it lies and also from eustachian tube. It inserts on handle of the malleus. When it contracts, it pulls the handle of the malleus inside and makes the tympanic membrane tensor, preventing the vibrations. This is supplied by mandibular nerve as it is developmentally from first arch. Here on the posterior side we are observing stapedius, which projects into middle ear cavity from pyramid, a bony projection. The apex of the pyramid sends the tendon of stapedius which inserts on the neck of stapes. So when this muscle contracts, it pushes the footplate of the stapes laterally, preventing the conduction of impulses into the internal ear. This also dampens the sound. This stapedius is supplied by facial nerve as it is developmentally from second arch. Tensor tympani and stapedius both dampen the sounds and they prevent damage to the internal ear. So when stapedius is paralyzed, patient will suffer hyperacusis. That means patient cannot have the effects of dampening of sound. This is bony part of eustachian tube, middle ear cavity, mastoid antrum and mastoid air cells. This almost looks like a gun. Adding all related structures to the same, this is eustachian tube, bony part, middle ear cavity, mastoid antrum and mastoid air cells. Mastoid antrum is here, which is just behind the upper part of the middle ear cavity. It communicates anteriorly into the middle ear cavity through adytus. Posteriorly, it is related to sigmoid sinus, line marks of which are shown here. Inferiorly, it is related to mastoid air cells. Superiorly, mastoid antrum is related to middle cranial fossa, meninges and temporal lobe. Medially, it is related to posterior semicircular canal. Laterally, it is related to McEwan's triangle or suprameatal triangle. Here we can see this is mastoid process, external ear canal and styloid process. Here this shaded area shows McEwan's triangle or suprameatal triangle. The sensory innervation of middle ear cavity is chiefly done by glossopharyngeal nerve through tympanic branch and tympanic plexus. The arterial supply of middle ear cavity are by several branches, chiefly by maxillary artery and posterior auricular artery. These two are from external carotid artery. Middle meningeal artery, branch of maxillary artery, once it goes inside the cranium, it supplies middle ear from its roof. Even internal carotid artery can supply middle ear from anterior side, as it is related very near to its anterior aspect. Venous drainage is by pterygoid plexus of veins. Sometimes it is also by superior petrosal group of venous sinuses. Lymphatic drainage is into parotid group of lymph nodes if anterior part of the cavity has to be drained, and also by upper deep group of cervical lymph nodes. To recall some applied anatomical aspects, middle ear is chiefly formed in the body just to maintain the air pressure equal on either sides of the tympanic membrane for its easy vibration. Otitis media is infection of middle ear. Infection can ascend up from nasopharynx through the eustachian tube into middle ear. Infections can also track back into the mastoid antrum and mastoid air cells. Then it is called mastoiditis. During operations of mastoiditis and mastoid antrum, suprameatal triangle is the way of approach. These are all the complications of otitis media. Meningitis and cerebral abscess can be complications if infections track up, breaking the roof. If infections severely affect the medial wall of the middle ear, it affects facial nerve. It can affect internal ear, losing for balance, that is vertigo. Thrombosis of sigmoid sinus is also one of the complications if infections track back from mastoid antrum into sigmoid dural venous sinus. This ends session on middle ear. Have a nice time.